What we should be discussing right now is something about this place. It doesn't feel right.
What are you talking about? You're the one who wanted me to come here.
That girl Mantis, she's afraid of something.
Why are you trying to take this away from me?
I'm not trying.
He's my father. He's blood.
Well, you have blood on Earth. You never wanted to return
Again,
there.
you made me come here. And Earth is the place where my mother died in front of me.
No, it's because that place was real, and this is a fantasy.
This is real. I'm only half human, remember?
That's the half I'm worried about.
Oh, I get it. You're jealous because I'm part God, and you like when I'm the weak one.
You were insufferable to begin with. I haven't been able to reach Rocket. I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna try to get a signal.
You know what? This is not Cheers, after all. This is whatever the show is where one person is willing to open themselves up to new possibility and the other person is a jerk who doesn't trust anybody. It's a show that doesn't exist. That's why it would get 0 ratings.
I don't know what Cheers is!
I finally found my family. Don't you understand that?
I thought you already had.
What is space to a spaceman? Or the stage to a singer? Or the sea to a sailor? A calling, a promise that what they think they're meant for is out there, amongst remote reaches where adventure entices those brave enough to follow. What is space, the stage, and the sea? It's purpose. And to aspire for meaning requires a healthy ego. To pursue purpose is to nourish the notion that you are meant for something. But what happens when our search for significance becomes the defining factor of our lives? We throw away friends, family, love, and the very identity that make us who we are. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 tackles this idea with a remarkable vision, setting the stage for a cautionary tale that implores its audience, kill your ego, and fulfillment will take its place. The ability of music to express the inexpressible is a recurring theme in the films of James Gunn. For example, the defining song of the original Guardians of the Galaxy could be interpreted as a sonnet from Peter Quill to Gamora, with hints of his need for infamy.
Hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
The latter subject is parlayed into a full-blown theme in Volume 2, where Peter does battle with a father figure literally named Ego. And the musical motif Gunn selected this time around is significantly more precise in its implications. The popular tune from the band Looking Glass came out in 1972. While many found the song perfectly feasible as a means of dreaming, Gunn found it a metaphorical framework with which to tackle compelling themes of fatherhood and legacy. The song speaks of a sailor, drawn to the titular Brandy, yet simultaneously driven to return to his life on the water. And eventually the sailor does decide, choosing to endure the surge of the waves rather than the swell of his girl's love.
You all right, son? I saw your girl stomp off a little earlier in quite a huff.
Yeah.
It's fortuitous you listening to this song.
You know,
Brandy? By Looking Glass? A favorite of your mom's.
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Within this framework, we place Ego. Parallel to the sailor and the sea, Ego refuses to let go of the expansion, his greater purpose he believes himself and Peter are destined for. In doing so, he relinquishes not only his relationship with Peter and his mother Meredith, but the feeble clutch he had on any sense of humanity.
My friends.
Well, you see, that's the mortal in you, Peter.
Yes.
We are beyond such things.
Yes.
As his name suggests, His perception of a higher purpose contorted his perspective, leading him to believe that what he was doing, everyone else should not only understand, but endorse the idea. For example, I was fortunate enough to attend college and study something I love: literature, writing, storytelling, and fiction and nonfiction. So when I walk away from a film blathering about anti-heroes or thematic storytelling or the literal changing of a color in a scene, my experience from studying this stuff has contorted my perspective. Now, I could react by declaring everyone else simply wrong and enforcing my viewpoint however I see fit, thus succumbing to pride, as ego has.
But my mother. You said you loved my mother.
And that I did. My river lily, who knew all the words to every song that came over the radio. I returned to Earth to see her 3 times, and I knew if I returned a 4th, I'd never leave. The expansion, reason for my very existence would be over, so I did what I had to do. But it broke my heart to put that tumor in her head.
What?
No, all right. I know that sounds bad.
Thankfully, Ego has a counter in the story: Peter, an heir to Ego's power, and the one demonstrably capable of harnessing it. Along with nearly every other cinematic father, Ego hopes his progeny will grow up to be just like dear old dad. But Peter's actions only precipitate disappointment. Foregoing fantasies of godhood, Peter obliges his heart, which can be glimpsed in the eyes of his guardians. He had found family and love despite his seeming ordinariness or his incessant need for adventure and glory. And when faced with the choice between that love and power, Peter chose the former. Everything he thought he ever wanted, the key to fulfilling his ego, crumbles around him. Yet his other father figure, Yondu, pays back that sacrifice with his own act of penance. Poetically then, Peter's act of selflessness inspires the same in another, painting the man they call Star-Lord in a suspiciously heroic light. Thus, in the framework of Brandy, Peter can be viewed as an alternate ending of sorts. Contrary to the sailor and Ego, Peter lets go of his sea, his greater purpose, to remain with the love that he has. And he's greeted with love in return, allowing himself the chance to be vulnerable and, by extension, fulfilled.
I told Gamora how, when I was a kid, I used to pretend David Hasselhoff was my dad. Earlier, it struck me. Yondu didn't have a talking car, but he did have a flying arrow. He didn't have the beautiful voice of an angel, but he did have the whistle of one. Both Yondu and David Hasselhoff went on kick-ass adventures and hooked up with hot women. And fought robots. What I'm trying to say here is, sometimes that thing you're searching for your whole life, it's right there by your side all along. You don't even know it.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is a cautionary tale, positing that even our search for meaning has its limits. What do we cast aside in our pursuit of dreams, particularly when they are already real? The great irony found in elevating oneself is that pieces of who we are become scattered on the way up. Remnants of our heartbreak, love, and joy resign to living on in those left behind. Yes, we may believe ourselves
Beyond such things.
but our need for fulfillment will remain unquenched regardless. To kill your ego is a heroic act, renouncing mercenary fantasies for the realities we find all around us, family, friends, kindred souls. That's our calling. That's what we're meant for. What is the sea to a sailor? Or the stage to a singer? Or space to a spaceman? It's absolutely nothing without his Brandy.